Hi everyone, this is Stephanie from the Regional Clubs team at the Yale Alumni Association. I'm excited to be back here with you all tonight for another Yale Alumni Live. Tonight we have a really special guest, Chloë Drimal, who is the founder of Yoni Circle, which is an app we're going to learn more about this evening. This is our first post-Pep Rally Yale Alumni Live, and we're really excited to be back and to be with you again this evening. And we're going to be doing a little bit of storytelling, which is what we think we do best here on Yale Alumni Live. So in just a minute, we're going to have Chloë join us, and she's going to tell us all about her experiences at Yale, after Yale, and what she's up to now. So I'm going to bring her on in just a second, and we'll hear her story tonight. So thank you all for tuning in. And there she is. Hi, Chloë.
Yay! Hi!
Everybody, with Instagram, it's always like, is it going to work? Is it going to work? And then it works.
It
We're
worked.
so excited. So thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I've been looking forward to this for several weeks now because you do something amazing that we like to do here on Yale Alumni Live as well, which is storytelling. So we're going to get started the way we always do, and we're just going to ask you, Chloë, to tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and why you chose Yale.
Great, I can do that. So my name is Chloë, and I founded and I run. I'm the CEO of an app called Yoni Circle, and a community that heals and connects through storytelling. I grew up in Connecticut, so I found my way to Yale. I was a lacrosse player. I played on the varsity lacrosse team at Yale, so I always knew I wanted to play in college. And I remember when the Yale coach, there was a new Yale coach, reached out to me. I was like, I'm not going to college in Connecticut. Like, no way. And then it was I visited it on a rainy day. And as I think a lot of people that go to Yale, like I just fell in love and totally took back all my words of not wanting. I really dreamed of going to college on the West Coast, and within that one rainy day, it was all eyes were set on Yale and the experience. And yeah, so I chose it because I think I felt a magic when I walked through the campus, and I felt a magic from the different students that I got to talk to, and especially the lacrosse team was just this, pretty eclectic group of women that clearly supported each other. And I was just so excited to, move into that family and just kind of take in all that Yale had to offer.
It's pretty hard to escape the charm of Yale. I grew up here as well, and I just remember sneaking in to see the women's table when I was in high school, and I felt like, oh, this is something so special here. So I understand. I think we all do. The charm of Yale is inescapable. So once you got to Yale, tell us a little bit about what you were involved in while you were there.
So I played lacrosse for 3 years. I quit my senior year, which I'm honestly now very grateful for, because I think I got to kind of dive into all of Yale's offerings in a much bigger way my senior year. But even while I was playing lacrosse, in terms of my academics, I was American Studies. And so I was very involved I did a lot of the creative writing classes and the film classes, even some of the theater classes that had to do with writing. So, still things that my professor said to me, I guess 7 years ago now, I'm not even sure. Well, it's 7 to 10 years ago, they still resonate with me today. And so that was pre-lacrosse me. And then, then after I quit lacrosse, I got more just involved in other things. So one thing was the YDN. I started writing a biweekly column for them, that ultimately was what led me into my career in tech. And I'll talk about that. And then I also want to shout out, I interned, so it was Yale adjacent. I interned for this woman named Danielle, and she was an entrepreneur. And at the time she was doing pop-up shops. And I felt so lucky I got to be around this woman that was just figuring out being an entrepreneur. And I know that those moments with her, like figuring everything out and just letting me see into everything, were really important. And I think she's now really involved in Yale even more so.
So, Chloe, tell us a little bit more about, you told me a great story about your involvement with YDN and then also your involvement with your society and how that kind of shaped your future. So tell us a little bit about those experiences, because I think, for many of us in hindsight, you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, that one little thing that I did that I never thought was going to change the course of my life, it really does. And so those moments are so much fun to talk about and look back on. So tell us about those experiences on YDN and in your society.
Absolutely. I'll start with YDN and then I'll go into Secret Society, both very impactful on me and then ultimately led to Yoni Circle, which is what I'm doing now. So YDN, I was a biweekly columnist and I didn't mean to be. I was starting a talk show and I really wanted to get this talk show views. I was basically interviewing the different bar owners and different people in the frats, and I wanted more views. So I was went to the YD and I was like, hey, can you help me? And they were like, no, but you can write a column. And so I wrote this column that I think it was something like Swug Life or How to Be a Swug. Swug stands for Senior Washed Up Girl. And that article did very well. It was very much written from the heart. And so the editor was just like, can you keep writing? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so it was or late November. So this is 2012. I wrote an article about Snapchat. And I wrote how at the time Snapchat was just photos that were being sent back and forth. There wasn't that much more to it. And I really broke it down philosophically in my own way of why I thought it was going to be not only the next big thing, but why I thought it was important for our generation and why we liked it, because it was bringing technology back while pushing it forward and making this technological interaction more like real life. It's just a memory. It's just a moment. And so ultimately, that was released and it got picked up by Business Insider and San Francisco Chronicle. And at the time, the only press on Snap was this is bad, this is sexting, get your kids off of this. And then my take was this is going to make the world more beautiful. And so it was five guys at the time at Snap. And I was actually at my Secret Society, holiday dinner. And I just got this snap from a random, username. And I opened it up and it was a picture of four guys with the caption, thank you, Chloe, you get us, dash team Snapchat. And so ultimately, I start snapping back and forth. I learned they're in LA. I happened to go visit. I was in LA for New Year's Eve and I reached out over Snap. I just stopped. I was like, hey, I'm going to be in LA. Would love to meet you. And I wasn't thinking of a job at all. It was more of a curiosity. I had dreams of being a writer. I still do. And so I met with the team. It ended up being a 4 or 5 hour, from lunch to seeing their new offices that were just getting put together on the Venice boardwalk. And the CEO drove me home and he was basically I don't know what you're going to do, but you get this. Do you want to come work here when you graduate? And I was just yeah, sure. Why not? So that's how I wound up as the 14th employee of Snapchat, which was I'm very grateful. It was very impactful in my career trajectory. And I also will say even, I don't remember who was the guest, who was the columnist editor, the guest column editor at the time, but I had he's like, what are you writing about next? And I had pitched him Snapchat. And this article was actually the one that took me the longest, where the other ones was kind of just spew of thought. And he kept emailing me of I really want to publish something, write something about Snapchat. And I was I don't know what I'm going to actually do. And so I was also so grateful that he pushed me to to just write this because it led to really good things for me.
It's so unbelievable. I mean, the YGN is well known, and the fact that it just traveled literally across the country on an opinion piece, sort of, is
Yes,
it's
just an opinion
absolutely
piece.
amazing. Which goes back to this whole idea of storytelling and why it's so important, because you're basically just telling your story of what you think, your opinion, your impression, and look where it landed you. It's incredible. So you also told me a bit about the impact that your society had on your career and your perspective and how you've come to create Yoni Circle. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I also, yeah, Secret Society was, I think, my favorite part of the Yale experience. And it's impacted me in so many ways. Um, and yeah, just the idea of being in this, eclectic group of people that were out of my friend bubble. Some of them in my secret society I maybe like knew of. And then some I like never had come across in my, the 3 prior years at Yale. And it's all about storytelling. The crux of the society experience is obviously we don't talk about what happens in society, just like we don't talk about what happens in Yoni Circle and the stories that are told. But the crux of it is that you have, you meet 2 times a week and you have your bio, and everyone shares their story, their bio of their life. And I think that those stories were really impactful for me. It got me out of my perspective. Like it just like started to broaden my perspective. I was actually the scribe of our group. So I like wrote everyone's down in the big like leather book. And then it also just, it helped me to see, I think, that how stories connect people, because I think that I maybe don't keep in touch with everyone in my secret society, but I know that if I saw them, there is just a different connection that we'll have, because I know things and I watch them tell a story there are certain ways, and they listen to mine, and you give feedback after, and I'll just like never really forget those moments, and you just get to create such a bond with people that you wouldn't maybe naturally meet and maybe naturally realize that you have a lot to connect on. So that like I obviously didn't know it at the time, but that was definitely a mix of like, my amazing different creative writing professors at Yale and then the secret society experience, like were the stepping stones into starting, years later, formulate the vision of Yoni Circle.
So, Chloe, it's like you literally are more articulately describing what we've been trying to do with Yale Alumni Live too, because in a time where, normally like I'd be going out to visit my clubs in California, and now we're so distant, and we really wanted a way to be able to connect people. And like you said, we have a, pretty big audience here on Instagram, and it's people from all different classes who may not have ever crossed paths with you or may not have known you. And this is a great opportunity for them to get to hear your story and connect in a way that they otherwise wouldn't. So, I'm a big fan of what it is that you're doing. And so I'm excited for you to tell us more about Yoni Circle at this point. Tell us what it is, what it means to you, where you're going in the future with it. I know you've got a lot going on. I saw some of your teammates on here watching. So this is the moment. Tell us all about it.
Thanks, guys, for supporting me. Also, I want to say I snap because I'm saying like yes, but without interrupting you. And that's something that we do at Yoni. So Yoni Circle is a community that heals and connects through storytelling. We believe that storytelling is a medicine. And there is some science to it. I won't like get too into it, but I'll kind of go across the edges. But basically it's the idea that when we actually verbalize and speak out loud these memories, these stories of our past, we're kind of doing 2 things. We're either maybe letting go of a more traumatic moment, or we're integrating sometimes a really good moment. Sometimes like, past versions of us were maybe a little bit better than our present version. We need to integrate that more. And then on the flip side, with storytelling being a medicine, is that by listening to these stories, I mean, first and foremost, you're just so grounded in the fact that the human experience is shared, that we are in this together. It's very hard to sit in a circle and not relate to a piece of everyone's story. And then you just broaden your perspectives, like find deeper levels of self-awareness. So those that we really believe that storytelling is a medicine. We also believe that we're always evolving. So we really the community is very open-minded. We really practice leaving our egos at the door and really just believing that our differences are our magic. So I started with an in-person community in Venice. I left Snap with this vague idea that I wanted to create a social media network through the power of storytelling. I had no idea what it looked like at all. And so I started this in-person community that started with these storytelling circles. And I'll focus on what the app storytelling circles look like. But yeah, so I started doing these storytelling circles. I started once a month. They slowly turned into once a week and then twice a week. And excuse me, I keep coughing, but I don't think I'm sick. But through that time, I just started to iterate on that circle experience. Like, okay, what is my script? Like what makes a more impactful circle? What does this all mean? And the more I did that, then the more I could then start to train we call our host of our circles saloniers, after the French. And so then I was able to train them. And once I stopped hosting as many circles, the product and the app just clicked. And so by March of 2020, when we shut down, the in-person side of it, we had over 400 members in our community. Wow. And then we launched the beta of our app in April 2020, which was always like the plan. It didn't have anything to do with COVID. We honestly just got lucky that was the dates of our roadmap. And so Yoni Circle, the core of the app experience sorry, this is my cat. It's
okay. This is real life. It's okay.
My cat, I don't have a baby, I have a cat. And she's just like, let me play with your phone right now. So the core of experience is you join these live hour-long circles. So they're capped at 6 women. They're women all over the world. We're in over 600 cities globally right now and over 200 countries right now. So a lot of times you're with, women from many, many countries. So they're run by a host who we call a salonier. Saloniers start as community members. They have to do at least 7 circles, and then they apply to be a salonier, and then they're trained by us. So the experience opens with 6 minutes of chat. And that's just allowing people to be a little bit late and, you're kind of just like introing yourself. We do something called a rose, thorn, bud, which actually came from my secret society experience. We did it every time we met. And so in the app, women take a selfie and then you write your rose, which is your highlight of your day, your thorn, the not so good part, bud, what you're looking forward to. And then we move into a live video chat experience. And so the rules of the experience are to listen and speak from the heart. Only speak when you have the talking piece. But if you resonate with someone saying, you do snaps. That's why I do snaps so much. Next is take the stories with you. Leave the names behind. We take confidentiality seriously. Also, very secret society as well. And then lastly is to speak succinctly, because we're got to get in and out in an hour. And so we start off with a woman setting an intention for the time together, and she taps a candle in the middle. The UI hopefully looks like nothing anyone's ever seen before, and feels a little bit more magical than your regular Zoom call. And so next we go into intros. So everyone says their name, where they live, what they do for work, and or what they're passionate about, and then what's on their mind or in their heart. So then we just start connecting a bit. And then we go into the core, which is the storytelling round. So what happens is a salonier brings everyone through a really quick breathing meditation just to get us all out of our heads and into our heart space. And our heart space is really our most unique form of ourselves. It's where we hold all of our journeys, all of our stories, and is our truth. So we work to get everyone there, and then she gives you a prompt. So examples of prompts are, today we're telling stories around risk, or stories around joy, or stories around deceit. So they're kind of these like high level things. And then she brings you in deeper. So we go into what we call micro prompts. So she's giving you a bunch of examples without, being like too detailed of what a story around joy might look like for you, the different environments it could be in. And the goal as pioneers, you're just poking at the memories. And then ultimately it's a circle of stories. And I'm obviously biased, but I find it to be a very healing experience. And so we ultimately end in a witness round where women just say one or two sentences around what they witness in circle. The only rule is that it's not a time for advice. So it's about like, what patterns did you see between the stories? What line did you resonate with? And then we close out. And this experience in itself has been like part of my healing journey for sure. I don't think that I would have been able to, I ended up fundraising VC money to get the app off the ground. I would not have been able to it was a hard experience for me, and I don't think I would have gone through it without Yoni Circle. And I think it's just allowed me, I think all my relationships in my life have like improved from this practice. And so the last thing I'll just say about Yoni is, so that's kind of the core of our experience, but we have a lot more in store and a lot happening. So women, and I keep saying women, so we are a community for those that identify as a woman. By like end of 2021, we're definitely planning it to be for everyone. We're just kind of baby stepping our way there. So women can record their stories while they're in Circle. It's just for themselves. And it's private by default. So it might just serve as like a diary introspection, or they can make it public. And most of our community members, they all are recording. It's like a natural habit by this point. And so actually in about 2 weeks, we're launching Yoni Radio V2. So right now, like there is a lot of content, but it's hard to find. It's just on women's profiles, and our friend graph is kind of interesting in order to protect people's privacy. So you're only connected with people you've been in Circle with. But with Yoni Radio V2, we'll actually be curating a broadcast of 4 stories every day. So you kind of can just hop in and listen to these like absolutely stunning stories. And so that's the app, and we're trying to build as fast as we can. I have a very lengthy roadmap that is not complete yet, but it will happen.
Chloe, I love everything about this. You already know that. We've talked about this a couple of times now, but like, I really have to say that I just think it's so amazing. The stories that I've heard from people, especially people who are doing things app-based or like on the internet, have internet components. The fact that this all happened this year, really launched their businesses. And so I'm like very happy that is a positive side effect of this whole year. But the other thing too is that the common themes that I hear all the time are looking for connection and self-care. And I feel like Yoni like really embodies all of that. So for everybody watching, Chloe and I have a friend in common, which is how I connected to her. So cheers to Steffi. We love her. Another Steph, not me. I'm not talking about myself. I should probably clarify. I have too many Stephs in my life. But so Steph had told me about this wonderful person named Chloe who grew up around her, played lacrosse with her, and then she was doing all these amazing things. And I was like, yeah, let's interview her. Let's talk about her. But what I'm most excited about is that our conversations have now grown into an agreement where Chloe is actually going to lead some storytelling circles for the Bold cohort. So if you are a bulldog of the last decade, Chloe is going to be coming back and joining us in January, February, and going to be leading some storytelling circles, doing some work with our Yale Bulldog community, Bulldogs Last Decade. We're so excited to be able to offer this. My colleague Jeannie Daniel, she's going to be leading the charge with Chloe, and it's going to be amazing. We're going to bring like a little microcosm of Yoni to Yale. So we are so grateful grateful, Chloë, that you have agreed to do that and that we can be partners in this, because I think what you're doing is amazing. So I want to thank you again for being here tonight. It's been such a pleasure. Everybody, I say like,
So
oh, I just
fun.
can't wait to meet you in person. Like,
I know.
come to
Okay.
reunion. Hopefully we keep saying,
Oh,
next
I
year
will
there'll
be at the
be
next reunion when my tenure. And it's February 18th is the date that
February
we locked
18th.
in for the workshop. Yeah.
Awesome. So if anybody who's watching is a member of the Bold cohort, you will be getting information about this from Jeannie. Keep an eye out. Chloë, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to do a circle, and
You
I
gotta
suggest
get in. You gotta get
I'm
into
going
the
to do it.
circle. And
And
everyone we're iOS only right now, but download the app, apply to be a member. Put a referral from me so it expedites the process. But yeah, we'd love to tell stories with everyone watching. And if you don't identify as a woman, we will have you on very soon.
so thank you again, Chloë. Thanks to everybody who watched. We're going to make sure that we tag Yoni so that you know how to find them. And we'll be back probably in a few weeks with another story. So Chloë, thank you again. Have a great
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Have a nice night.
Bye.